Everyone has their favourite bike. It could be new, it could be old, it could be cheap, and it could be expensive. But usually that's irrelevant because it's what the bike represents that's the most important part. And a bike like this with its rim brakes is what does it for me. But the reason why is undoubtedly gonna surprise you. Before we get stuck right into this video, let's be clear. It isn't a rim brake versus disc brake Grand Slam showdown. So if you came to this video expecting that, I'm afraid you're gonna be slightly disappointed. But this is more of a rim brake appreciation video. So the rim brake fanboys and fangirls will be particularly happy. Saying a certain bike is my favourite bike of all time is a very bold statement, and not exactly something you'll hear me say, because truth be told, I'm not really 100% sure what is my favourite bike of all time. Now, this video isn't specifically about this bike, although it does rank pretty damn high on my list of favourite bikes. This video is about what bikes like this one and bikes from this era represent and why they're important to me. This exact bike is the Pinarello F12, a bike which I have loosely had the pleasure of calling mine for the past few years. It launched in 2019 and was ridden by Team Ineos at that year's Tour de France with tremendous success, finishing first and second on GC with Egan Bernal and Geraint Thomas, which in my eyes ticks the box for this bike being a success for Pinarello. So why am I stood here in 2024 talking about this bike, the Pinarello F12, when I've already said the video isn't specifically about it? Well, it's because it's what bikes like this represent in terms of the direction of the bike industry, the bikes that pros are racing on, and how technology has evolved. You see, it wasn't that long after bikes like this launched that we started to see disc brakes making their way into the pro peloton and rim brakes gradually being phased out, which, depending on which side of the fence you sit on, is either a good or a bad thing. But what makes bikes like this so important to me and special to me is that I feel like they represent the absolute peak of what was possible using the rim brake platform. And I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this because some of you will have seen a video that Si made a few weeks back where he showcased what he thought was peak bike. I, however, disagree. So please do let me know in the comments section down below whether you think this represents peak bike or the bike that Si showed. 2019 also represents a somewhat less significant moment in the racing world compared to a first and second place at that year's Tour de France by Team Ineos, and that is because it was the last full year that I raced as a pro, which is why sort of bike tech like this sits close to my heart. And the exact bike that I spent my last racing season on was a Canyon Aero CF SLX rim brake, a mix of Dura-Ace and Ultegra, and to be honest, all big brands had their rim brake bikes completely dialed in that period of time. And there was kind of like little room for improvement without a big shift in technology and a big shift in bike design. Which is when disc brakes arrived on the scene. And I get it, for some of you people out there that don't like disc brakes, that's cool. Everyone's free to choose whatever they want to choose to use. But I, for one, have really enjoyed having this bike mixed in with the other bikes that I'm in the incredibly fortunate situation to be able to use because I work here at GCN. But unfortunately, we've come to a sad moment in time because this bike and I are having to part ways because the kind people at Pinarello have asked for their bike back. I mean, it's fair enough, seeing as supplying us with bikes on loan is one of the ways that they help support us here on GCN and GCN Tech. And you can help support us too, simply by clicking on that subscribe button and giving this video a thumbs up if you're really enjoying it. Let me just give you a super quick run through of the exact setup of this bike. So, it's a Pinarello F12 rim brake. of course, built up with a mixture of Shimano's Ultegra and Dura-Ace 11 speed. The frame is a size 56, which is actually one size smaller than I typically use, which is a 57.5. The handlebars on this bike are 40 centimetre wide and it has 120mm stem. The wheels on the bike are Vision Metron 55 SLs, and at the moment they're set up with Pirelli P0 Race 28mm tyres. However, when I was using this bike purely in the summer, just a couple of years ago, I tended to have it set up with 26mm tyres and latex inner tubes for that little bit of added speed. Now, the reason why it's a mix of Ultegra and Dura-Ace is really just because of stock availability over the last few years and replacing parts as and when they've worn out. The bike's finished with some nice carbon bottle cage from Toe Peak, Wahoo pedals, and keeping me comfy up top, we've got a Cell Italia SLR Boost saddle with metal rails. Oh, and for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll see that we've got an OSPW on the back for, you know, those added marginal gains and a little bit of extra bling. Gearing-wise, at the moment, the bike has got a 50-34 chainset up front with 170mm crank arms and an 11-30 cassette on the back, which means there's only one thing left to do for one final time, and that is to give this bike its last freehub sound check. Goodbye. I think we've all heard enough of me declaring my love for rim brake bikes from 2019, because things have moved on a lot since then. Shimano has gone 12 speed, Campagnolo have gone to wireless shifting, and I think it's fair to assume we're never ever going to see a pro racing on a rim brake bike ever again. Now, disc brakes undoubtedly do represent the latest in technology, but what I want to make super clear is that I'm by no means saying that rim brakes are crap, because that's certainly not the case. But what it does mean is that you can find some absolute bargains available secondhand when searching online if you want to use the rim brake platform. And I mean, if rim brake bikes were good enough for people to win the Tour de France on, say, 5 or 6 years ago, I think it's fair to say that they're more than good enough and capable enough for all of us to head out and ride and enjoy at the weekends, and also serves as a really good way for consumers to almost fight back against the ever-increasing prices of modern top-spec bikes. Okay, that's enough chat from me about rim brakes, but if you want to share your love for rim brakes, please do so in the comments section down below. And of course, if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. See you later.